Most people believe healing comes from pills, doctors, or treatments. But what if your body already knows how to repair itself and you've simply forgotten how to activate it? Ancient Buddhist wisdom understood something about human biology that modern science is only beginning to confirm. There is a quiet intelligence living inside you, an intelligence that has been active since before your first breath. Long before language, belief, or education, this system learned how to regulate your heart, balance your chemistry, repair tissue, and adapt to changing environments. It does this continuously, without effort, without recognition, and without instruction. Yet most people live as if this intelligence does not exist, as if the body is fragile by default, and healing must always come from somewhere outside. The Buddha never described the body as broken. He never taught that suffering exists because we lack something external. He observed that suffering arises when we lose harmony with our own nature. In Buddhist understanding, the body and mind are not separate systems competing for control. They are a single living process, constantly influencing one another. When the mind is agitated, the body reflects it. When the mind becomes calm, the body reorganizes itself toward balance. Modern neuroscience now confirms what Buddhist meditation practitioners experienced directly centuries ago. Brain imaging shows that sustained attention and calm awareness can change neural pathways. Psychology has revealed that chronic emotional suppression alters immune response. Epigenetics has demonstrated that perception, stress, and environment can activate or silence genes related to inflammation, repair, and longevity. Your inner world is not abstract, it is biological. Most people unknowingly live in a physiological state that blocks healing. Their nervous system remains locked in survival mode, constantly preparing for threats that no longer exist. Stress hormones circulate through the body long after they are needed. Muscles remain tense. Digestion weakens. Immune response becomes confused. Healing slows, not because the body is incapable, but because it never receives the signal that it is safe to repair. The Buddha described this state as ignorance, not as an insult, but as a condition of forgetting. Forgetting how to listen inward, forgetting how to rest deeply, forgetting how to inhabit the present moment fully. When awareness fragments, the body follows. When awareness stabilizes, the body responds. Consider how healing naturally happens during deep sleep. When consciousness softens and the mind releases control, the body shifts into repair mode. Growth hormone increases, cellular cleanup accelerates, neural integration occurs. This is not accidental. It is design. Buddhist monks observed that the same repair processes activate during deep meditation, even while awake. The body does not distinguish between sleep and profound mental stillness. It only recognizes safety. This is where Buddhist wisdom quietly aligns with modern stress biology. The body has two dominant modes. One is protection, the other is restoration. You cannot be in both simultaneously. When the mind perceives threat, even psychological threat, the body prioritizes survival. When the mind perceives safety, the body prioritizes healing. Most modern lives train the nervous system to perceive constant threat. Not physical danger, but psychological pressure. Deadlines, comparisons, unresolved emotions, endless stimulation. The body reacts to these signals exactly as it would to a predator. It prepares to fight or flee. Over time, this becomes the baseline. Healing becomes secondary. The Buddha taught that liberation does not come from controlling the body, but from understanding the mind. When awareness becomes stable, gentle, and present, the body receives a different signal. It begins to shift out of defense. It begins to repair. Neuroscience now explains this through the vagus nerve, a central communication highway between brain and body. When calm awareness increases, vagal tone improves. Heart rate variability stabilizes, inflammation reduces, immune coordination improves. This is not belief. This is measurable physiology. What Buddhist practitioners discovered through introspection Modern science is now discovering through instruments, healing is not something you force. It is something you allow. The most radical idea in Buddhist healing is not meditation itself. It is the understanding that the body already knows what to do. Your role is not to command it, but to stop interfering. This interference often comes in the form of constant mental noise, the mind replaying the past, the mind anticipating the future, the mind judging the present. Each of these pulls awareness away from the only moment the body can actually heal, now. When awareness returns to the present, something subtle changes. Muscles soften, breathing deepens, neural signals reorganize. The body receives permission to shift. This is why Buddhist teachings emphasize presence over effort. Presence is not passive, it is intelligent. It is the state in which the body's natural regulatory systems operate most efficiently. Science now understands that attention itself is a biological signal. What you consistently focus on shapes neural circuits. What you emotionally reinforce strengthens hormonal patterns. Over time, these patterns become the body's default state. The Buddha observed that repeated mental states become habits, and habits become character, and character becomes destiny. Modern neuroscience would phrase it differently, but the mechanism is the same. Neural plasticity responds to repetition. The body adapts to what it experiences most. If your inner experience is dominated by urgency, fear, and self-judgment, the body adapts to that environment. If your inner experience is dominated by calm awareness, patience, and acceptance, the body adapts to that instead. Healing is not a single event. It is a direction. The Buddhist path does not promise instant cures. It offers something more sustainable, a gradual reorientation of the nervous system from survival to coherence. This is why meditation was never taught as an escape from the body, but as a way to inhabit it fully. When awareness rests in the body without resistance, the body reorganizes itself naturally. In the coming moments, we will explore how specific Buddhist practices influence cellular repair, how emotional regulation alters gene expression, and why compassion is not just moral philosophy, but biological medicine. We will uncover how stress imprints itself into tissue and how awareness can reverse that imprint over time. For now, allow a single realization to settle. Your body is not waiting to be fixed. It is waiting to be heard. When the body feels safe, it begins to speak in a different language. Signals slow down, internal rhythms synchronize. What once felt like constant background tension begins to dissolve, not dramatically, but quietly, almost unnoticed. This is how real healing starts, not with force, but with permission. Buddhist wisdom never framed healing as an act of control. It framed it as alignment. The Buddha observed that when the mind stops fighting reality, the body stops fighting itself. Modern science now understands this through the lens of stress physiology. Chronic stress keeps the body locked in a state of alertness that was never meant to be permanent. Cortisol remains elevated, inflammation becomes systemic. Cellular repair is postponed again and again, as if the body is waiting for a safer moment that never arrives. What is rarely discussed is that the body does not distinguish between a physical threat and a psychological one. A tiger in the jungle and an unresolved emotional conflict activate the same survival circuitry. The amygdala reacts. The nervous system mobilizes. Blood flow shifts away from long-term repair toward immediate defense. Over time, this repeated pattern trains the body to live as if danger is always present. Buddhist meditation was designed as a direct interruption of this loop, not as relaxation in the superficial sense, but as a retraining of perception itself. When awareness rests steadily on the breath, the body receives a clear message. Nothing is chasing you. Nothing needs to be solved right now. You are here, and this moment is survivable. Neuroscience confirms that slow, attentive breathing directly influences the brainstem and vagus nerve. Heart rate begins to regulate, blood pressure adjusts, Digestive processes re-engage. The immune system shifts out of emergency mode. These changes are not symbolic. They are measurable biological events triggered by attention. The Buddha spoke of mindfulness as remembering the body, not analyzing it, not fixing it, simply remembering it. In doing so, awareness moves out of abstract thinking and back into sensation. The present moment becomes embodied. This is crucial because healing cannot occur in imagined futures or remembered pasts. It can only occur where sensation is real. Modern psychology has discovered something similar in trauma research. Unprocessed experiences are not stored as stories, but as sensations and nervous system patterns. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Buddhist practices did not attempt to suppress these memories. They created conditions where the body could safely release them. When awareness becomes stable, suppressed tension surfaces naturally. Muscles tremble, breathing changes. Emotions rise without narrative. This is not breakdown. It is integration, the body completing cycles that were interrupted by fear or resistance. This is why Buddhist teachings emphasize non-judgment. Judgment reactivates defense. Acceptance allows completion. The body only releases what it believes will be received safely. From a cellular perspective, this safety has profound consequences. Chronic stress alters gene expression through epigenetic mechanisms. Genes associated with inflammation become more active. Genes related to repair and longevity become quieter. When stress decreases consistently, this pattern begins to reverse. The cell does not care why the environment changed. It only responds to the signal. This is where Buddhist compassion enters the conversation, not as moral instruction, but as biological medicine. When compassion arises, the nervous system shifts into a state of social safety. Oxytocin increases, cortisol decreases, inflammation markers drop, healing accelerates. Compassion is not soft. It is regulatory. The Buddha taught compassion not only toward others, but toward oneself. This was not indulgence, it was strategic. Self-directed hostility keeps the nervous system in threat. Self-directed understanding signals safety. The body responds accordingly. Many people sabotage their own healing unknowingly through inner dialogue. Harsh self-criticism, impatience, the belief that they must earn rest or deserve healing. The body hears all of this as pressure. It tightens, it resists. Neuroscience describes this as decoupling. The prefrontal cortex inhibits reactive circuits. Emotional charge decreases. The body exits reflexive patterns. Over time, this rewiring becomes structural. New neural pathways form, old ones weaken. This process is slow, but it is reliable. The body trusts consistency more than intensity. Small moments of genuine presence, repeated over time, reshape physiology more deeply than occasional bursts of effort. The Buddha understood this rhythm intuitively. He taught gradual cultivation, not sudden transformation. Healing unfolds like growth, not like repair of a machine. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Buddhist healing is the role of stillness. Stillness is not inactivity. It is integration. In stillness, the body synchronizes systems that were previously fragmented by distraction. Hormones rebalance. Neural networks communicate. Energy is redistributed. Modern research on default mode network activity shows that when mental noise decreases, the brain enters a state of coherence associated with insight, emotional regulation, and creativity. The same state supports immune coordination and tissue repair. What Buddhist monks described as inner silence, neuroscience describes as neural efficiency. Different languages pointing to the same phenomenon. Modern psychology now accepts what Buddhist practitioners observed centuries ago. Emotions that are not fully experienced do not disappear. They settle into the nervous system. They shape posture, breathing, muscle tone, and internal chemistry. Over time, these patterns become so familiar that they feel like personality, when in fact they are unfinished biological responses. The Buddha did not describe emotions as enemies. He described them as impermanent processes. They arise, change, and dissolve when allowed to complete their natural cycle. Suffering begins when we interrupt that cycle through resistance, suppression, or identification. When an emotion is resisted, the body tightens. When it is suppressed, the body holds. When it is judged, the nervous system prepares to defend. None of these allow completion. The emotion remains active beneath awareness, influencing physiology silently. This is where Buddhist insight becomes deeply practical. By observing sensation without story, the body is given permission to finish what it started. No analysis is required. No reliving is necessary. The nervous system only needs safety and attention. Neuroscience refers to this as bottom-up regulation. Instead of trying to think your way out of emotion, you allow sensation to reorganize the nervous system directly. The insula integrates bodily signals. The amygdala quiets. The prefrontal cortex regains perspective. This is healing in real time. From a biological standpoint, unresolved emotional stress alters immune function. Inflammatory markers increase. Tissue repair slows. Blood flow patterns shift. Over years, this contributes to chronic conditions that appear physical but originate in dysregulation. The Buddha never separated physical illness from mental suffering. He saw both as expressions of imbalance. This was not mystical. It was observational. When compassion enters this process, the body responds even more deeply. Compassion communicates safety at the most fundamental level. It tells the nervous system that there is no threat from within. This alone can dissolve years of internal tension. Modern studies show that self-compassion practices reduce markers of inflammation and improve immune resilience. The body responds to kindness the same way it responds to safety, because biologically they are the same signal. Forgiveness operates through a similar mechanism. Holding resentment keeps the body in a state of alertness. The nervous system remains braced, as if preparing for conflict that never arrives. Forgiveness is not approval of harm, it is the release of internal defense. Buddhist teachings emphasize forgiveness not as moral obligation, but as liberation from physiological bondage. When resentment dissolves, the body stands down, repair resumes. Another layer of healing emerges when meaning shifts. The way you interpret experience alters biological response. Psychology refers to this as cognitive appraisal. Buddhism refers to it as right view. When pain is seen as punishment, the body resists. When pain is seen as information, the body adapts. When pain is seen as impermanent, fear decreases. The immune system responds accordingly. Neuroscience shows that the brain's interpretation of sensation determines whether it is processed as threat or neutral information. Chronic pain patients who change their relationship to sensation often experience measurable changes in neural activity and symptom severity. The Buddha taught that suffering is amplified by clinging to identity, clinging to narrative, clinging to the idea that things should be different. When clinging softens, suffering decreases even if sensation remains. This is not passive acceptance, it is intelligent non-resistance. The body relaxes because it is no longer fighting itself. As this internal relationship changes, habits begin to shift naturally. Sleep improves, appetite regulates, movement becomes easier. These are not forced behaviors, they are expressions of restored regulation. Modern health science confirms that regulated nervous systems make better decisions effortlessly. Cravings decrease. Impulse control improves. Motivation stabilizes. Healing becomes self-reinforcing. One of the most profound Buddhist insights is that awareness itself is curative. Not because it fixes problems, but because it restores coherence. When awareness is fragmented, the body fragments. When awareness is unified, the body follows. This coherence extends to the cellular level. Cells communicate through electrical and chemical signals. Stress disrupts this communication. Calm restores it. Healing is coordination. The Buddha often described enlightenment not as a supernatural state, but as clarity. Seeing things as they are. When perception aligns with reality, the body stops preparing for imagined threats. Modern neuroscience calls this predictive processing. The brain constantly predicts danger. When predictions are inaccurate, stress persists unnecessarily. Mindfulness retrains prediction. The brain learns that many perceived threats do not require action. As this learning consolidates, the body exits chronic defense. Repair processes resume. Longevity pathways activate. The body shifts from survival to sustainability. This is not theory. It is observed in long-term meditators whose biological markers resemble individuals far younger in chronological age. Their nervous systems remain flexible, their inflammation low, their recovery efficient. The Buddha did not promise immortality. He offered freedom from unnecessary suffering. In doing so, he revealed a pathway to biological resilience. As this part of the journey settles, notice what has already shifted, not in dramatic symptoms, but in subtle perception. The way you relate to your body, the way you listen, the way you allow. In the final part, we will bring these insights home. We will explore how daily life becomes the practice, how ordinary moments sustain healing, and how this ancient wisdom becomes a living guide rather than an abstract philosophy. The journey does not end with understanding. It deepens through embodiment. For now, allow one truth to remain with you. Healing is not something you chase. It is something that unfolds when you stop running from yourself. At a certain point on this journey, something becomes clear without needing explanation. Healing was never meant to be a dramatic event. It was always meant to be a way of living. Not a technique you apply when something goes wrong, but a relationship you maintain with your own inner world. The Buddha did not teach people to escape their lives in order to heal. He taught them to meet life more honestly. When attention returns to ordinary moments, walking, breathing, eating, listening, the body recognizes rhythm again. These rhythms are not spiritual concepts. They are biological necessities. Modern health science now understands that the body thrives on predictability and coherence. Regular sleep-wake cycles, steady breathing, emotional consistency, and meaningful connection all signal safety to the nervous system. Buddhist practice gently restores these signals, not through rigid discipline, but through awareness. When awareness accompanies daily activity, stress stops accumulating unconsciously. Instead of storing tension, the body releases it in real time. A breath deepens, shoulders soften, the jaw unclenches. These small moments prevent the buildup that later becomes illness. This is why the Buddha emphasized simplicity. Complexity overloads the nervous system. Simplicity restores it. The body does not need perfect habits. It needs consistent signals of safety. As healing becomes embodied, identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to fix a broken body. You begin to experience yourself as a living system, constantly adjusting, learning, and restoring balance. This shift alone reduces pressure, and pressure is one of the greatest obstacles to healing. Neuroscience describes this as moving from performance mode to regulation mode. When the brain stops evaluating itself constantly, energy is freed for repair. Immune function improves. Cognitive clarity returns. Emotional resilience stabilizes. The Buddha described this state as ease, not happiness dependent on conditions, but a deep okayness with reality as it is. This ease is not passive. It is deeply alive. In this state, even difficult emotions no longer feel threatening. Sadness moves through without becoming depression. Fear arises without becoming anxiety. Anger appears without becoming hostility. The body processes experience efficiently without storing residue. Modern psychology calls this emotional granularity and regulation. Buddhism called it wisdom. different languages pointing to the same embodied intelligence. One of the most important realizations on this path is that healing cannot be rushed. The body operates on biological time, not mental urgency. When you stop pushing, the body stops resisting. This is why long-term meditators often radiate calm without effort. Their nervous systems have learned trust. Trust allows repair. Repair reinforces trust. Healing also deepens through connection. The Buddha placed great importance on community, not as social structure, but as nervous system co-regulation. Being seen, heard, and understood calms the body in ways solitude cannot. Modern neuroscience confirms that safe human connection is one of the strongest regulators of stress physiology. Even listening to a calm, reassuring voice can shift the nervous system. That is not metaphor, it is biology. As this understanding integrates, life becomes lighter. Not because problems disappear, but because the body no longer treats them as threats to survival. Perspective widens, choices become clearer, energy returns. This is the quiet power of Buddhist wisdom. It does not promise control over life. It restores harmony within it. When you breathe with awareness, when you meet sensation without fear, when you respond instead of react, you are not practicing spirituality. You are activating biology. You are allowing your self-healing systems to do what they were always designed to do.
The ancient monks did not know the language of neurons, hormones, or genes, yet through direct observation, they mapped the same terrain modern science now explores with technology. Their laboratory was the body. Their instrument was awareness. Today, we stand at a rare intersection. Ancient wisdom and modern science are no longer in conflict, they are converging. The most profound healing does not come from fighting disease, but from ending the internal war. When that war ends, the body redirects its energy toward renewal. As you return to your own life, nothing needs to change immediately. No rules to follow, no pressure to perform. Simply notice how you inhabit your body. Notice when you rush, notice when you soften, notice how awareness changes experience. Healing begins in noticing. If this journey resonated with you, if something within felt recognized or remembered, know that this space exists to explore deeper. On Divine Spiritual 0369, we continue uncovering the meeting point of ancient wisdom, modern science, and conscious living, not to escape life, but to inhabit it more fully. Stay curious, stay present, and allow your body the intelligence it has always carried.